Let's see. We are live. I certainly hope we are live. I'm Dr. Frita. Oh my goodness. Welcome to Dr. Frita Live. Having some technical issues over here, but boy, oh boy, do I have the medical information to deliver to you today. We will start off with an Ebola update because according to some CDC projections, they say that we could get to as high as 20,000 cases. Are they right or are they exaggerating? We will talk about it. And I will provide a bit of a live Ebola Q&A today on today's live. And so just get your questions together for that. And then we'll talk about a challenge that is now no longer just dangerous, it's actually fatal. 3 children in Connecticut have passed away over the past 2 months from diphenhydramine overdoses. Diphenhydramine is the generic name for Benadryl. And we know that back in 2020, there was something called the B challenge, okay, based on the brand name diphenhydramine. And so we'll talk about that challenge and how to protect your children from even over-the-counter drugs. Then we'll get into my favorite game, myth versus fact. Yes, myth versus fact. We'll talk about Kelly Rowland, the beautiful, the talented Kelly Rowland. I really, really like her so much. Well, she shares that she has been living with eczema and how it really stole her confidence. So we'll talk about eczema, what it is, what it isn't, how one can get it. And so we'll educate ourselves based on Kelly Rowland being so transparent about her story. And then we'll get into our second dose, where here on Dr. Frita Live, we discuss the latest trending medical headlines and celebrity health news. And we'll talk about that pesky screwworm, because there has been case number 6 that's documented. But guess what? There might be many, many, many more cases, and I'll tell you why. And we'll talk about how the local state officials and the federal officials are disagreeing as far as how to get rid of screwworms. I want you to tell me what you think. And then we'll talk about The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. He came out to the front and has been very open about a scare that he had for testicular cancer. Yeah, he had a testicular cancer scare. Fortunately, he does not have it. He does not have cancer, but he did have a very painful lump on his testicles. And so we'll talk about some men's health, testicular cancer, epididymitis, what to look out for. Of course, we are live. I am Dr. Frita. I'm going to ask you questions, but guess what? You can ask me questions too. Please go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe as we get started, because I guarantee you we have an evidence-based medical information show for you today, where I give you the true breakdown with no misinformation, no disinformation. Give us a like. Let's go ahead and get started. It's Dr. Frita Live. Hello, hello. I'm Dr. Frita. This is Dr. Frita Live. I thank you all for joining me this afternoon. Oh gosh, I tell you the truth. Life just keeps happening. Things happen. We have technical difficulties here. We've got screwworms over there. We've got Ebola over to the left. We've got everything going on, but we'll talk about it today, and I'll break these medical issues down in a way that can help you and your loved ones live their healthiest, happiest lives. But of course, I'm not doing the breakdown alone. I'd like to welcome my office manager and co-host to the front of the stage, Miss Shador. Hey there, Shador. How you doing?
Hey, good, Dr. Frita. How are you? How are you made heads?
So I am hearing that feedback right now. See if the med heads are hearing it.
All right.
Okay. But I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and get moving. If you're able to tell me who was the first person to come to the stage today. Who's the first person to join us?
First person to join us today was Marina. Hi, Marina.
Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us. All right. And as we move, we'll give some member shout outs. And I'll go ahead and get started while we try to figure out the sound issue. I tell you, technical. Y'all, we coming over here on technology, trying to give y'all all the good data, but the technology bugs are just messing with us this morning. But that's okay. We're going to go ahead and get started. And Shador, if you're able to hear me well, then when I ask you for the clips, then we'll just keep giving the people the good knowledge. Members, don't worry. We'll shout you out. I did give y'all a new members only video yesterday where I did quite a bit of a breakdown. I'll be having some more members videos for you this week. And I do thank you for being members and for giving me your time, your resources, and, and of course, for my chief residents, we have our members only lives every, once a month, the last Monday of every month regularly. So let's go ahead and get this thing going. Ebola is here. And when I say it's here because the World Cup has begun. And so we have everybody from around the world, many of them here in the United States. And I've been super excited because the team from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, we know that they faced all kinds of controversy. The U.S. required that they had to go to Belgium to quarantine for 21 days. They were supposed to have a pre-World Cup game against Chile, and it was to be hosted by Spain. Spain said, no, ma'am, Pam, didn't let them go in because of the Ebola risk. Well, guess what? When the DRC World Cup team stepped off that plane, they shut it down. They looked so good, so clean, so neat. I was just so excited to have them here. And so they'll be playing their first game on the 17th, I believe, in Houston. They'll be playing Portugal. And, the risk, it looks like, is quite low as far as Ebola here in the United States. We've got 4 airports at least we're really screening. But I'm just excited that this team that has worked so hard and has had the spotlights on them due to an illness that, of course, they as individuals have nothing to do with. I'm glad that they were able to come. They'll be able to compete, and they looked like $1 billion+ when they got off that plane. After we finish this live, make sure you check out my short that I have right here on YouTube and on some of my other platforms where I can go into detail about the DRC Ebola team. At any rate, now we got some new things going on. We'll play the clip, but first, I want you all to give me a little green germ emoji and answer the question, because the CDC has new projections as far as Ebola is concerned, and they believe that the numbers could get as high as 10,000 or even over 20,000 when it comes to Ebola cases. This is a projection they're using based on a new epidemiological model. And here's my question to you, medheads. When you hear the CDC making projections as high as over 20,000 for this Ebola Bundibugyo strain, does that cause you to have fear, or do you think that the CDC is just blowing things out of proportion? So does it cause you to have fear, or do you think they're blowing things out of proportion? Or do you believe them and you still don't have fear? Let me know in the comments. Let's play this clip, and then I'll give you more as far as an Ebola update and answer just a couple of questions right now, and then some more at the end of the live if we have time.
As the number of Ebola cases continues to rise, the CDC has released 3 reports discussing the outbreak in Central Africa, those in the U.S. The documents say first, since the World Health Organization declared an emergency of international concern May 17th. The CDC warns that without strong interventions from public health officials, the outbreak in remote areas of the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda could surpass the 2014 to 2016 West Africa crisis. The agency says it's working aggressively with federal and international partners to support response efforts. The CDC states Americans who are not traveling to affected countries do not need to change any behavior, adding federal agencies are conducting public health screenings at 4 airports to prevent Ebola from entering the U.S.
Okay, that's good. All right. So I'll see what you all say if you have fear as far as projections, or do you think they're exaggerating? But first, let me just tell you, as far as this model that they're using, it's not just based on the number of cases that we see. They actually take an average, and it changes depending on how virulent or infectious or contagious the virus becomes. And they base this number on how many new infections are caused by one infected person. And they make these projections. They consider the people we're not able to reach in rural areas. They look at emergency department visits. They also calculate places where they don't have a lot of emergency departments or healthcare facilities. And so it really is an average that they're making based on scientific speculation. We'll see. But I will tell you, back when we had our last major outbreak, we did have over 20,000 cases of Ebola with the Zaire strand, and we had 11,000 deaths. And so from Ebola. And so it's not unheard of. As far as the current numbers, you might notice that there's been some confusion, and I've kept you updated. When you keep up with my Ebola updates, make sure you watch all of my Ebola videos because I do go into detail. But initially they were talking about, there were 1,100 cases and they had all kinds of deaths, hundreds of deaths. But then Now the health ministries of Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda are reporting confirmed cases and confirmed deaths from the Bundibugyo Ebola, meaning that if we don't actually have it where we have it proven based on testing, then they're not necessarily reporting that. Okay. Before we also talked about confirmed and suspected. And so I'll tell you, just over this weekend, over a 24-hour period, the health ministries of Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, reported 74 cases in 24 hours confirmed. Okay. And again, that's just a matter of 24 hours. And so if you use the CDC's logic and their epidemiological models, then you can imagine that if you have confirmed 74 cases in 24 hours, then the projection really would make sense for there to be many more, because there are a lot of people who, one, have escaped, I'll say escaped, but who've left the tents against medical advice when there have been fires started or violence. There's been an issue there. We know that there are many battles going on. It's a war-torn country right now. And so when you have people escaping for their safety, you have displaced people. And so we don't necessarily have those folks tested, right? And so it is reasonable to assume that we have more cases than the ones confirmed. But I'll tell you, I reported on this on Saturday. At that time, there were 495 cases that were confirmed in both Uganda and in the DRC. And just as of this morning, we're talking about 782 cases confirmed by the health ministry of DRC alone, at least 19 confirmed in Uganda. And the rate of deaths has gone up to 181 confirmed deaths from the Bundibugyo strain in the DRC alone. There have been 2 confirmed deaths in Uganda. And so that number jumped up just over the weekend. It was 136 as of Saturday morning. So the number is jumping as far as confirmed. The CDC is projecting more. And I want to know from you, med heads, when you hear them project things like 10,000 or even 20,000, again, these aren't confirmed. This is a projection. How does that make you feel? Shador, have any of the med heads weighed in?
Absolutely, Dr. Frita. Dorothea.
Uh-oh.
She says faith over fear.
Faith over fear. Okay, so you're not dealing in fear. So you're not really saying whether you believe them or not, but okay.
Allison, says fear.
Okay.
Marina, she says, I am very concerned but not consumed with worry.
Okay.
Knick-Knack says she's aware.
Okay, I think I'm with you, Knick-Knack. I take it seriously. I do agree with the scientific projections. I don't believe that they're only, even though we have the confirmed cases, I definitely believe that there are more cases, but I don't operate from a place of fear either. We take the information, act accordingly. So yeah, so I'm with you on that. I'm aware, but I'm not fearful.
Yep. And then Bible says, no fear, just concerned.
Okay. So a reasonable concern, keep watching the numbers, keep watching the news, and we'll act accordingly. So I'm with you on that one. And that's why we'll keep coming here every week and giving you information. And when it's time to kind of raise the roof or kind of go up and be more vigilant in what we do, then as soon as I have that information, I'll share whatever information I have based in evidence, not based in fear, not based in rumors, but just based on the evidence as we have it. All right. Thank y'all, med heads. Very good. Very good. All right. Can we talk about this next story? Oh, my goodness. I want y'all to put a B in the chat if you've ever used Benadryl or if you have let your kids use Benadryl, whether it's for, an allergic reaction, if they're having some itching, if they're breaking out in hives, if, just have you used Benadryl? Just put a B, capital B. And this next story is very upsetting because over the past 2 months, just over 2 months, there have been 3 children who have passed away from what's being reported as overdoses of the generic form of Benadryl and of diphenhydramine. So whether they use Benadryl or another name brand, it was diphenhydramine, which is the antihistamine that is the main ingredient in Benadryl. And this is why that's upsetting. So while the Connecticut state health officials have not officially linked the children's deaths with a certain challenge, we know even as early as 2020, there was something called the B challenge used for the brand name of diphenhydramine, as I've shared. And with that challenge, people were encouraged on social media to take a lot of Benadryl to the point where it caused them to have some type of a hallucination. Okay. And once they had the hallucination, they were acting, really kind of out of their heads. You may be seeing things that weren't there, hearing things that weren't there. They would record these hallucinations, and it was called the diphenhydramine challenge. Or actually, they used the brand name. They called it the B challenge. And people actually, kind of thought that was funny, and they were passing it around, and kids were doing it, because Benadryl's over the counter, right? It's over the counter, but it can definitely be dangerous. It can definitely be dangerous because Benadryl, for anyone who's ever taken it, if you put a B in the chat, you know that it can cause you to be drowsy, right? And so you can imagine if you take a lot of it, it can actually cause some other issues, respiratory depression, make it where you can't breathe, make you pass out, cause heart palpitations. I'll get more into some of the side effects, but it really can cause you to pass away. And Benadryl, especially at these high doses, crosses the blood-brain barrier, meaning it directly has CNS or central nervous system toxicity or effects. And so now we have 3 children in the last 2 months, which is a bit of a tight cluster, right? That's not typical. They've passed away from diphenhydramine or Benadryl, essentially overdoses. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Benadryl side effects. But first, I want you all to put in the chat and give me a little pill emoji. You know that little red and yellow pill they have? Give me a pill emoji. And I want you to tell me, med heads, prior to hearing about like this challenge, the B challenge or the diphenhydramine challenge, and prior to hearing about these kids who are overdosing on the antihistamines, tell me if you knew that something as simple as Benadryl could cause one to pass away. Or is it surprising to you? Is it surprising to you? I know that for me, when I started going to, I would buy Benadryl, at the local drugstore, and they'd be like, "Oh, it's locked up behind the cabinet." I'd be like, "Locked up behind the cabinet?" I have to show my ID, I have to get it. Well, now I understand why. Because if you have these children, and the Benadryl is left around just because it's over the counter and people think of it as benign, they could hop on social media and do this challenge and end up passing away. And so I'm going to see what you say, med heads, as far as, did you know it could be this dangerous? And I'm going to keep telling you just how dangerous it can be. So when you take this antihistamine Benadryl, it can definitely cause you to be sleepy. It can cause drowsiness. It can also cause delirium, agitation, restlessness. It can cause urinary incontinence, where you're not able to release your bladder. You can't urinate. That can lead to kidney failure. And y'all know that I am a board certified kidney doctor. And so this is something that's of particular concern to me. Overdosing on Benadryl or diphenhydramine can cause constipation. It can cause abnormal heart rhythms. It can cause a long QT. That's like an abnormality on the EKG. So it can cause an abnormality in the rhythm, and it can lead to abnormal heart rhythms. It can even make your heart stop. Yeah, Benadryl, something over the counter. And it can cause something called rhabdomyolysis, which is when your muscles actually break down and the pigment inside of the muscles, myoglobin, gets released into your bloodstream, and it can cause kidney failure. I've had to dialyze people because of rhabdomyolysis. Okay, it can lead to kidney failure. And yes, overdosing on Benadryl can cause that. Ultimately, it can also lead to tremors, seizures, coma, and death. Okay. So 3 kids in the past 2 months passing away in Connecticut from a diphenhydramine overdose, and, my condolences to those families. I'm so sorry for them because, usually with these challenges, when overdoses occur, they're not on purpose. It's just a kid doing something silly. If it's over the counter, they think it can't be that bad. If it's on social media as a challenge, it can't be that bad. Well, it can be that bad, and it can cause death. And so this is really just a clarion call to parents. Make sure you're watching what your kids are doing on the internet. And they're so slick. Like, my kids are definitely smarter than I am, as far as the technology. But so you can set up the parental controls and you can try to catch them doing things. Really, the key will be preventing, just having the honest conversation and just let them know, I'm not trying to be a nag or just a lame parent or whatever these kids say, whatever they want to call us. I don't care. Let them know about, just be upfront with them. Let them know that children have passed away from a Benadryl challenge. They need to know that we're not just being hyperbolic and being just, just worrying about things unnecessarily. They need to know that when we tell them something, these kids, these teenagers, these young kids, that we mean it and we're talking to them from a place of life experience and a place of wisdom. Let them know that these pranks and these social media challenges aren't just fun and games or silly. It can be life versus not being alive. Okay. So Shador, did any of the med heads comment? Are y'all surprised? I really want to know about this, how dangerous Benadryl can be, or diphenhydramine.
Absolutely, Dr. Frita. Rachel said, wow, didn't know that.
Yeah, it's not common knowledge, right? It's not.
Deidre says she has no idea, had no idea.
Yeah. So please share this. And I'll tell you the best way, share this live. And also, once you're finished with this live, I have a short form video that's on YouTube. It's on my other social media platforms as well. So share it, especially to parents, because I'm telling you, most people don't know. It's not an everyday conversation. Good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Member Miss Sheila.
Hi, thank you for being a member, Miss Sheila.
Says, I am surprised. And member Larry says, very surprised.
Okay. Yeah. And look, and I know my med heads are sharp as can be. So if y'all are surprised and listen, and I curate a certain audience here. Okay. I'm not trying to brag, but my med heads are smart. That's just what it is. And so imagine for you all being well informed, for actually being interested in health, interested in evidence. If you are surprised, than the average parent, or a little 22-year-old mom who's got other things, or a dad who's 25 and just trying to work and trying to make it. Imagine what like some young parents, or even parents in their 40s, or just, it's not common knowledge. So please share it. And yeah, everything that's over the counter is not safe. All right. And again, thank y'all for being here, and thank y'all for always just, I don't know, for really just joining in, letting me know that we're not talking to ourselves, that you're interested in the conversation, and for being honest about what you know and what you don't know. Which, by the way, I'm about to test what you know and what you don't know in this next segment, because myth versus fact is coming up. And for all of you who are watching on all social media platforms, I want to say thank you. Please give us a like. Please give us a subscribe here on the Dr. Frita channel. We're still in a bit of a high because, yes, we now have over 1 million subscribers. And I thank you. We put out evidence-based medical information. We don't do the disinformation. We don't do the guessing. And as far as the videos, I have hundreds of videos on this channel. I break things down in a way that's easy to understand. For those of you who are new to me, I am Dr. Frita. I'm an MD. I'm a medical doctor. I have been quadruple board certified. So I am board certified in nephrology. So I'm a nephrologist, meaning I'm a kidney and a high blood pressure doctor. I am board certified in internal medicine. I am board certified in obesity medicine. Yes, y'all, I like to read. I like to take tests. I like to learn. Don't judge me, judge yourself. And also, after I completed my dual internal medicine pediatrics residency at Georgetown University Hospital School of Medicine, I earned my board certification in pediatrics. And so I do have a wide range of knowledge, and I'm proud of it. And I read every single day. I'm not even exaggerating. Y'all, you ought to see all the medical journals and information I read because I like it. I do. I love medicine. And more importantly, I love to share with you, right? I love to share what I learned so that when you go to take care of yourself, you have knowledge. When you go talk to your doctors, they're not going to be in the same position, especially if they're in a hurry or they're feeling grumpy. They can't just talk down to you or tell you any and everything if you are part of our community, because I break things down in a way that's easy to understand, so that when you go and you've watched my videos, whether it's my long forms, my shorts, these lives, you're able to have your questions written down. You ask questions, you use the right buzzwords where the doctors have to pause and be like, oh, shoot, this person, has some knowledge. Let me sit, explain, make sure I dot my I's and cross my T's, right? So it helps to close that health disparity gap the more knowledge you have. So that's what this is about. I'm trying to improve your ability to advocate for yourself. And then when you share this information, your loved ones will be at a better position as well. So make sure, for those of you who are new to us, please give us a subscribe. For those of you who come and you help and you support every week, give us a like. It makes a difference. All right. Do you know who else makes a difference? Kelly Rowland. We originally met her in Destiny's Child. And of course, she's had a formidable career of her own. And do y'all know, to this day, my favorite solo song of hers is Motivation? It was kind of a bad girl song. But anyway, she's had acting and all of that. She's got 2 kids. She's married, all the good things. And, beautiful girl, beautiful woman. And I love that she's come to the front and actually shared a medical condition that she has that has caused her to lose some confidence at times. She's been very honest about that. It just goes to show, no matter how beautiful, how talented, how perfect celebrities are, they're people just like us, right? Which is why here on the Dr. Frita Live, we talk about, yes, the latest trending medical headlines and celebrity health news, because when you have celebrities who've got it all going on coming out and sharing with you, they've got the same problems just like we have. I think that makes it a little easier for some people anyway to go ahead and face their medical problems. They're like, you know what, if Kelly Rowland is dealing with this, child, let me just go into the doctor. So that is also my point. Okay, I also just love pop culture, and also, for some folks it's a way to relate, right? To really relate to someone and to understand that it's okay to be honest. It doesn't make you any less of a person if you have a medical condition. All right. So eczema. Eczema is what Kelly Rowland shared that she's been living with. And eczema, it's that kind of dry skin. It looks almost reptilian in some people, okay? Almost like alligator skin. It can be dark or hyperpigmented in Black people and brown people. And some people with lighter skin, pale skin, it might just look red and really dry and irritated. And it can itch. It can be disfiguring, if you get patches on your cheeks, patches on your arms. It can make you maybe not necessarily feel comfortable wearing your swimsuit or your shorts if you really get really heavy patches. And plus, it could just make you itch and just miserable, okay? And so atopic dermatitis is what it is. Let's do this. Let's go ahead, get your pencils out, med heads. Let's go ahead and play myth versus fact. We'll answer a couple of questions and then we'll go from there. All right, myth versus fact, statement number one.
All right. Statement number one, eczema is contagious. You can catch it from someone who is having a flare-up.
Okay. So myth versus fact. Eczema is contagious. You can catch it from someone who's having a flare-up. Put an M1 if that's a myth. Put an F1 if that's a fact. Eczema is contagious. You can catch it from someone who's having a flare-up. M1 if that's a myth. F1 if that's a fact. Motivation. Okay. Myth versus fact, statement number two, please.
Eczema runs in families. It's linked to the same genetic pathways as asthma and seasonal allergies, not just skin sensitivity.
Okay. So does that sound right? Eczema runs in families, and it can be linked to the same genetic pathway as asthma, as seasonal allergies. It's not just about skin. M2, if that's a myth. F2, if that's a fact, if it really can be genetic and, related to asthma and allergies. M2, if it's a myth. F2, if it's a fact. All right, pencils down. Pencils down. All right, Shador, what do we have?
All right, statement one, eczema is contagious. You can catch it from someone who is having a flare-up.
All right. What you say, medheads?
All right. From my members, Miss Elaine, she says a myth.
A myth. You don't think it's contagious? Okay.
And Sheila says myth.
Hi, Miss Sheila. Okay.
Larry agrees that it's a myth.
Hey there, Larry.
Member Allison says myth as well.
A myth. Okay.
So that's myth B.
Okay. So most of y'all are saying it's not contagious.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't y'all seen it? It's itchy and it can be scaly. Okay.
And Peace Oasis member says a myth as well.
Hi, Peace Oasis. Okay. All right. So most people overwhelmingly are saying myth.
Yeah, everyone says myth on this one. That's freedom.
All right, sounds good. And drum roll. You are correct. And I'm very glad, because let me tell you, see, that's why I know I have a different crowd here with the med heads. Y'all are well informed, but you can imagine, especially, in dealing with little kids, if they see something that's kind of patchy and it might even ooze, if someone has just been scratching to the point where they're kind of starting to bleed. You have young kids and even adults who are kind of want to stay away from someone because they think it's something contagious. But it is indeed a myth. Eczema is not contagious. It can sometimes mimic things that are contagious, like scabies, impetigo, things like that, where there's actually an infection. But with eczema, it's atopic dermatitis. Yes, it's environmental. We believe there's a genetic pathway as well. And what happens is we believe that there's different genetic pathways, but one is a defect in something called filaggrin, which is responsible for your skin's barrier. And if you have a mutation, like many people with eczema will have, then there is a defect in your skin barrier and you're not able to keep in the proper moisture. And so you'll get just very, very dry. And then you can get other triggers like the environment, like pollen, even very, very hot water, hot showers. And then if you're someone who doesn't keep enough moisture, like you're not using enough emollients, not using enough lotions, then that can make it flare. Even some people just with different weather, different temperatures, they can have flares. But yes, it's not contagious. Atopic dermatitis is not contagious. So very good, med heads. All right, myth versus fact statement number 2, please.
All right, number 2. Asthma that runs in families is linked to the same genetic pathways as asthma and seasonal allergies, not just skin sensitivity.
Okay, so is eczema not just about the skin, but is it linked to genetic pathways that are also responsible for things like asthma and allergic rhinitis, which is seasonal allergies? All right, what do you say, medheads? Y'all think y'all know everything?
All right, we'll do a mixed bag on this one, Dr. Frita.
Ooh, I love a mixed bag. Learning opportunity.
Kelly says fact.
Fact. Okay.
KK agrees that it's a fact.
All right.
Red hot says it's a fact.
Okay, red hot. All right.
Ginger agrees that it's a fact.
Okay.
Rhyming Lynn says a myth.
A myth. Okay. So you don't necessarily think it's related to things like asthma and allergies. Okay.
Virginia agrees that it's a myth.
Okay.
And Kim says a myth as well.
Okay, I love a mixed bag. Okay, all right, and I can see why some folks would say that they're not related, because who thinks that skin has anything to do with breathing, has anything to do with allergies? But guess what? This is actually a fact. It's actually a fact, and they actually call it the triad, okay, or the atopic march, where you have kids. And I want y'all now that you know this, I want y'all to go back and find people with eczema in your lives, or people with seasonal allergies, or people with asthma. And if you're close enough to them, where it's an open conversation, please don't go up to strangers and ask, but just say, hey, let me ask you, cousin Billy Bob, or let me ask you, Auntie Patty, I know you have asthma. Did you ever have eczema? Do you have any allergies? Ask people and you will find that more times than not, there is a connection with this triad, because patients who have atopic dermatitis do oftentimes have asthma and allergic rhinitis or seasonal allergies. They also very commonly will have food allergies as well. And in this episode of me telling my family's business again, y'all, I really hope my family doesn't watch this show. But let me talk about my kids, okay? My children, especially my youngest two, my 15-year-olds. Now, when they were younger, they had eczema real bad. Eczema and my kids went together real bad, because I'm talking about they had little patches on their faces. Commonly, you'll get patches like in the bends of your elbows, on your knees. They had it on their little behinds when they were babies. Really bad eczema, right? They also had asthma, okay? And my daughter, my 15-year-old daughter, has outgrown it to a degree. She doesn't need controller meds. My son still has asthma. Flares are getting better. And guess what? Seasonal allergies. And it's really my son who's got the triad bad. He has to get allergy shots and everything. But allergy, atopic dermatitis, or the eczema and the asthma going together. And when you have parents who have eczema, you're more likely to have it. If you have two parents, oh my gosh, your chances go up just super, super high. So yeah. So I want y'all to kind of, if you have people who are close to you who have eczema, ask them the questions. Now, if they tell y'all to get out their face, then you tell them, Dr. Frita said our secrets make us sick. And if they still tell you to get their face, then just, back away slowly. But yeah, there actually is a relationship, and it's the triad, the atopic march, the atopic triad. And as far as treatments, make sure you consult with your physicians, because, here we give you medical information. It does not replace your medical advice from your doctors. But as far as the eczema, yes, making sure your skin is moist. Take lukewarm showers. That's easier said than done, because sometimes that hot water feels really good on your eczematous skin, but it can also make things worse, these super, super hot showers. And so it's recommended that you take lukewarm showers, that you make sure you moisturize when you get out of that shower. And in some cases, your doctors might give you topical steroids. There are stronger treatments as well, like calcineurin inhibitors, or really like immunomodulating therapies for the atopic dermatitis. So consult with your primary care doctors. And if your eczema is severe, I recommend that you ask about seeing a dermatologist, right? But yeah, so I appreciate Kelly Rowland coming to the front. She's a survivor. Yes, free concert and medical information. How y'all like that? All right, please go ahead and give us a like, give us a subscribe, because we are moving on to the next. And let me tell you, we're going to keep giving you good information here, but make sure you put your notification bell up, because not only have we had some great videos on here, I recently gave y'all the top 5 worst salads. Y'all thought y'all salads were healthy. I've had so many comments. I'm talking about people have been coming to my office, new patients, asking me about these salads, and they're mad. And then also, I talked to you about a list of foods that if I had kidney disease, I would eat just about every day. And it's not your typical list. It's some kind of surprising foods. I have turnips on there. I have shiitake mushrooms on there. And so I've got a really nice kidney diet. And I've got another video coming out. I'll tell y'all when. But if you put your notification bell up, you'll know when we pop up on lives. You'll know when I post shorts, and you'll know when I do the long-term videos. Also, let me tell y'all, if you follow me on my one-stop shop, drfrita.com, then one, you'll be able to book telehealth conferences with me, because yes, I love talking to all of you. But if you want to talk with me one-on-one, and I do a full history and we have a conversation, I do offer a telehealth concierge service where I can help you from anywhere in the world, literally. I mean, I've had patients from Paris, I've had patients in Japan, I've had patients all over the world for this telehealth service. And it's really exciting. It really helps me. I love it, how connected we are as a globe. I love it when I'm able to spread helpful medical information that we're connected as a globe. I don't love it when we have pandemic scares. But anyway, so yeah, so make sure you click the link in the description. You can go to my one-stop shop. And on that one-stop shop, you can also see my podcast, Healthy Happy Life Podcast with Dr. Frita. And that way you don't always have to look at our lovely faces. You can just listen to our voices, where we give you the same quality of evidence-based medical information. And when you stop by that podcast, please give us a 5-star rating. It helps the cause. Yes, it does. In the spreading of evidence-based medical information. And of course, I have my book. You'll be hearing more about that. And I'm gonna go ahead and just spill the beans. I don't know if I'm supposed to or not. The official audiobook is out. It's out on Audible. Yes, it is. You can click the link in the description or go to my one-stop shop, drfrita.com. And so for people who are too busy or don't feel like it, or their eyesight's not great and they don't really love reading tiny print, now I have the Audible edition. So please do support and share it, buy it for a friend, listen to it for yourself. And I did it in my own voice, which was quite a venture. And I'll be telling y'all more about that. But I'm pretty excited about the book. It's out. The Audible version is up and Adam. So please check it out. All right. So now it's time for the second weekly dose of the latest trending medical headlines and celebrity health news. Let's talk about screwworms. Okay, could they have come up with a worse name? I don't know. But you will recall that we have had our first screwworm case in the United States. The last one was back in the 1960s, honey, in 1966. And the problem with screwworms is that they are flesh-eating parasites. And the screwworm, either the name is worm, a screwworm is actually a fly, like a bzz. Do y'all know that movie, The Fly? Who is that? Jeffrey Goldberg. Anyway, a screwworm is a fly. And most flies, as you know, will lay their eggs, and then the larvae will hatch, and you have these maggots, and they're mostly like on dead animals, right? Not these screwworms, honey. They like it live at 5. Screwworms are flies where the female will lay her eggs down on living warm-blooded animals. Yes. And so what does that mean? When you have the screwworms in a place like Texas, that's where the outbreak started, you have livestock at risk, right? Like cows, cattle. But guess what? Horses are at risk too. Goats are at risk too. Pets like dogs are at risk too. And even though we always talk about how humans are at low risk, we do have a history of human cases, okay? I know in Mexico, it's been reported as high as 275 cases. I've heard that it's been reported, and 2 deaths, okay, related to screwworms. Not here in the United States, but just to let you know, we are warm-blooded animals, okay? We don't like to use the word animals. We say we're civilized, even though some of us don't know how to act. But humans, it can happen, just so you're aware of that, even though the risk is low. So back to the screwworm cases. I shared with you when we had the first screwworm, and that was in La Pryor, Texas, in Zavala County, right? And then they put up a 12.4-mile perimeter. But then we had a second screwworm case, 5.6 miles from there. Both of these were in calves and little baby cows and calves. And then there was a goat who got it, child, a goat in Gillespie County. And that was 170 miles north of the county, letting you know that little 12.4-mile perimeter we put up wasn't hitting on anything. Okay. And then a dog also had a screwworm, and child, that dog is from New Mexico. So now New Mexico has its first screwworm case. And then there was another one in LaSalle County, another calf, at least 3 calves in Texas, a goat in Texas, a dog in New Mexico. But here's the scary part, y'all. The scary part is that now the federal government has told ranchers, cattle ranchers, that if they have a screwworm, send it in, let it get evaluated, and it's forcing them to quarantine. Okay. In days past, instead of making them quarantine, they might send some treatments, go drop some sterile flies there. But now they're saying, you tell us about a screwworm, you have to quarantine. So what does that mean? You might have some cattle ranchers who don't report their screwworms, right? They might try to go and do a little ivermectin or pick the screwworms off and handle it themselves because they cannot afford for the ranches to be closed down. And so this is a little more serious than I thought. But listen, let me go ahead and play this clip, because now the commissioner, the Texas Agricultural Commissioner, Miller, says that these sterile screwworms that are being released, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can check out my screwworm videos I've done in short form, plus go to last week's live where I went into detail about the sterile flies. I tell you all about it. He says that that method of getting rid of screwworms is not working, and he wants to use a new method, SWASS. I'll let him tell you about it, and then I want y'all to answer the question and give me a fly, give me a little bug, give me a fly emoji, and I want you to answer this question, because what the locals are saying in Texas is different than what they're saying in the federal government. And tell me if we need to listen to the federal people. Do we need to listen to the local government because they know best? Do the two of them need to come together? Or are you just like, bump it, we're screwed with the screwworms? Tell me how you feel after you listen to this clip. Who do we need to listen to, the federal government or the local person who's right there, the commissioner in Texas? All right, let's listen to this and let's get to it.
What can you tell us about the known case and what the response looks like today?
Well, we have a positive case in South Texas. We knew it was coming. We started this battle 20 months ago in southern Mexico. The only method that we're fighting it with is sterile flies, which do not work. We've released over 7 billion sterile flies, and we have more cases today than when we started. So it's simply not working. It's insanity doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. We have a program that developed by the USDA called the SWASS program, SWASS, Screwworm Adult Suppression System, which is a beta fly bait. We've used that in the past. It works by killing 95% of the adult screwworm flies. For some reason, the USDA does not want to use that. They want to use exclusive sterile flies. We're not going to have enough sterile flies for 2.5 years. So if they stick with that plan, we're going to be totally infested all over the state with screwworm flies this summer. We need.
Okay. All right. So I'm curious to see what the med head said. And you heard what he said, the screwworm adult suppression system. And so just briefly, I'll tell you, and you can listen to my previous videos for more detail. With the sterile screwworms, the USDA, the government, has released some sterilized male screwworms, and they release, well, he said 7 billion. They do 100 million at a time, and so they've been releasing them every week. And the theory is that these sterile screwworms will mate with the fertile female screwworms, and so they're able to mate, but when the female lays eggs, they're not viable. Okay, and so that's how the plan is to suppress the system. Well, here's one issue with that system. It's not just sterile males that are being released. In some cases, you have sterile males and sterile females, right? Like maybe 50-50 ratio that's been described. And so if that's the case, then that will increase the chance of the sterile male mating with a sterile female right next to her, a sterile female who's not a threat anyway. And then you've got those fertile females out there still mating with fertile males, right? And at this rate, they released 7 billion according to the Texas Agricultural Commissioner Miller. And he says it's not working because, truthfully, from the time they started releasing the sterile screwworms to now, the cases have increased. Okay. And so tell me what y'all think. Do y'all think that the federal government needs to listen to the Texas Agricultural Commissioner, since he's right there in the heart of Texas with his ideas? Or do you think that the feds need to be in charge? Like, they have more resources, more knowledge. Do you think they need to come together, come up with a compromise, or bump it? Just is not going to work. What do y'all say, med heads? I know y'all are opinionated. What do you say?
All right, member Dietrich says the local government is boots on the ground, so I would feel more comfortable taking their advice, although it would be nice if everyone was on the same page.
I'm sorry. So more comfortable taking whose advice?
The local government, their boots on the ground, so
Okay.
you'll be more comfortable with their advice, but everyone needs to be on the same page.
Yeah, and I do agree. It's nice to hear from people with the boots on the ground. But then the coordination would be an issue, right? Because now it's bigger than Texas. If Texas does its own thing, then now we already know we have a dog with the screwworm in New Mexico. So what happens in New Mexico when they don't have the same coordinated efforts, right, across the border? So yeah, the larger thing will be for them to be on the same page, because that commissioner is talking like he ready to go ahead and get it going with his SWAS system with the bait, which according to him kills 95%. And then he says that after he kills a good portion of the screwworms, then he would come back with sterile on top of that. So interesting. Anyone else?
Yeah, Peace Oasis
Happy
says,
Thursday.
I believe local folks, I guess, have to become a vegetarian.
You know what? Nothing wrong with being vegetarian. Nothing wrong with being plant-based. As long as you're, I'm getting that feedback still. As long as you're getting all of your protein in. But I would love for us still to have the protein option of beef, of livestock, and so that's the healthy personal choice. But yeah, we definitely still need to figure this thing out. If it's true that the sterile screwworms aren't working, then definitely the federal government needs to open up to other options. But I would love a coordinated effort against the screwworms. Anyone else before we move on? And listen, at the end, I will reserve just a couple minutes to answer some Ebola questions. And so I made a promise on one of my videos is over the weekend that I would do a live Ebola Q&A. And so if y'all have any questions, I will take a few of the Ebola questions at the end. Okay.
All right, Dorothea, she says, business and local, but both need to come together.
The government can come, yeah, absolutely. The best thing is going to be a coordinated effort, but the federal government does need to respect the people who are visibly there with boots on the ground. And just like I thought that was a lot of insight. I didn't play it for you in this clip, but it was that commissioner who in other interviews shared that he has an understanding that people are not reporting. He believes that instead of automatically quarantining the ranchers, they need to get in there, put sterile screwworms over there, give them some treatment, do something. Because if you say you're going to shut somebody down and quarantine them, he's saying that is they're not incentivized to tell you. And so that's something that you can really only know with boots on the ground when you're hearing it yourself or seeing it yourself. He knows something, it sounds like the federal government doesn't know. And so I know there might be 6 confirmed cases, but I can go ahead and promise you, just based on science and likelihood, we know there's much more than that. We're already likely at an infestation. 6 confirmed, that's the evidence. We provide evidence-based medicine here. 6 confirmed screwworm cases. The likelihood is that there's many more. Y'all make sure you please give us a like and share this information. When you share it, it helps the algorithm. It lets YouTube know that we're here giving evidence-based medical information. So share it on your group chat, share it on your WhatsApp, share it in your email. Go tell it on the mountain, honey. I don't even care. Just share it and let folks know that we're giving you evidence-based medical information. And again, I thank you all for your continued support and the fact that we have over 1 million subscribers. I'm so happy. We're going to do something special. Y'all just give me a little minute. Y'all help me get there too fast. Okay, not too fast. I wanted to get here, but it just really did hit. It really jumped up right in the last month. All right, Shadora, shall we talk about testicles? We shall. Because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson shared that he had a cancer scare, a testicular cancer scare, because he had a very painful lump on his testicle. No joke. And here's the thing. He said that once he saw that lump, he didn't even tell his wife. It was like 24 hours before he told his wife, because he first wanted to go to the doctor and find out if it was cancer or not. That's how scared he was, which leads me to my next question. And I want y'all to give me an emoji, not a testicle emoji. Is there a rock emoji? If so, give me a rock emoji. If there's not a rock emoji, then just give me a soccer ball for the World Cup. Give me a soccer ball and answer this question. If it were you and you had some kind of a scare, whether you're a woman or a man, if you had a breast lump scare, testicular lump scare, some kind of a scare, and you thought that you can get some answers in 24 hours, would you wait and go have some actual information before you told your wife, your husband, your partner, or would you tell your partner right away? In other words, is The Rock wrong for that? Waiting 24 hours where he was completely in terror and not even telling his wife. They've been married 7 years. They share daughters together. Anyway, I'm just curious. But now let's talk a little bit about testicular cancer. I don't think that we have a video for this one, but I can tell you the story. So y'all know Dwayne The Rock. He first hit the scene with being a wrestling superstar. He would pose with his eyebrow up and have his little perfect little muscular physique. And now he's really just, an actor who's been in so many things. In fact, I believe they have yet another Jumanji movie coming out, but he's been in multiple movies. He's even kind of chit-chatted a little bit on the political front. I know there have been, different kind of folks pushing him to run for office. Just kind of really a neat all-around guy. I got a chance to hear him speak when Oprah was in town. I don't know how many years ago when she was doing her kind of world tour. She had different guests, and he was one of the guests when they came to Atlanta. Anyway, he said that he one day had a very, very painful lump on his testicle, very painful. And so he went in to see the doctor because he thought it might be cancer. Didn't tell his wife initially. And the doctor examined him and they did an ultrasound the next day and they found that it was not cancer, but it was something called epididymitis. Okay. It was something called epididymitis. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about testicular cancer, epididymitis, but really I'm going to have you to go to my shorts because I did a short. It's right here on YouTube and it's on other social media platforms as well, where I talk to you about the difference between testicular cancer and epididymitis. And so I'm going to have you go there. And so for now, what I'll do is I'll go back and capture any Ebola questions we have. And then if you have any specific questions about testicular cancer or epididymitis, then I don't mind answering a couple of those. But I have the information that you need if you don't have any extra questions on the short form content that I have. And y'all make sure, please, again, give us a like, give us a subscribe. All right. Shador, do we have any questions, be it on testicular cancer, epididymitis, or on Ebola?
Yes, we have a few questions, Dr. Frita. This comes from UKA.
Hi, UKA.
On Ebola, how did it get started? I heard from eating the animals in the field.
Okay. And so Ebola, we know that Ebola is a virus and it was first discovered in 1976 near the Ebola River, now in the Democratic Republic of Congo. I believe it was called Zaire then. And since it was first discovered, we've had in Democratic Republic of Congo alone, this is now the 17th outbreak. It is believed to originate in certain animals like fruit bats. And yes, it's also believed that people who handle those animals that are infected or even eat the bush meat, as they call it, or who eat bats or eat animals infected, it is believed that's how the zoonotic infection jumped from animals to humans. Well, now that it's in humans, we know that there are at least 4 strains that can be transmitted from human to human. There's 6 strains total, but 4 that can be transmitted from human to human. So Zaire strain is the one that's occurred most commonly. In fact, of the 17 outbreaks that are in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, all of them have been the Zaire strain except for 3. Most of them have been the Zaire strain. And this current outbreak with the Bundibugyo strain only marks the 3rd Bundibugyo strain outbreak in the DRC. Okay. And so, yes, we believe it originated from certain animals like fruit bats, but it jumps onto humans. And now here we have it. Okay. Was there another question in there? Or
yes, this from UKA.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Sheila, Ms. Sheila asks, has Germany come up with a vaccine for this Ebola since they treated the American doctor in that case?
Very good. Very good question. Okay, so you're referring to Dr. Peter Stafford, who's an American surgeon. He and his family were over in the DRC doing missionary work. In fact, he had performed surgery on a patient. That patient passed away the next day. They didn't know the patient had Ebola at the time, but the patient who passed had Ebola, and Dr. Peter Stafford got Ebola. He's 39 years old. So instead of him coming to the United States, we sent him to Germany to get treatment. His wife is also a physician, Dr. Rebecca Stafford. She's an OBGYN. She was exposed. She did not get Ebola. They have 4 children. 4 children did not get Ebola either. They were quarantined, and that doctor was sent to Germany. He is now recovered. He has tested negative. In fact, I think he hadn't tested positive for the Bundibugyo strain since May 30th. And so he did not get a vaccine. He already had the virus, and we do not have an FDA approved vaccine for Bundibugyo as of now. They did give him antivirals, although we have some FDA approved antivirals for the Zaire strain. We don't have any approved for the Bundibugyo strain. So I don't know the exact antivirals he got. Perhaps they were using the logic that even though the Zaire antivirals are not approved for Bundibugyo, maybe they're hoping that they had some type of cross reactivity. I don't know. Either way, he got supportive care, and he's now doing much, much better and was actually discharged from the hospital. And so I'm very excited about that. But there's no vaccine currently. I will say there is a nice race to getting it done. So there's a coalition that's donated. They've put $62 million toward vaccine development. And so Moderna, who also made a COVID vaccine, they're making a vaccine that's reportedly a messenger RNA vaccine similar to their COVID one. The University of Oxford is working on a vaccine. There's another group that does AIDS research. They're actually working on a vaccine as well. And so there are different fronts, different organizations working on a vaccine. But as of now, we still don't have an approved vaccine for the Bundibugyo strain of Ebola. We don't have antivirals specific for that strain, but you might have read, Ms. Sheila, that they did give him some antivirals. But no, they're not specifically approved for Bundibugyo. Yeah, good question.
All right, thank you. Next question comes from Nick Nack.
Hey, Nick Nack.
Does the teens quarantine open the door for Belgium to be the Ebola headquarters everyone's been avoiding?
Say that again. Does what now?
Does the teens quarantine in regards to FIFA open the door for the Belgium to be the Ebola headquarters for everyone's been avoiding? That everyone's been avoiding.
I don't think I fully understand. I'm going to tell you as I understand it, and come back if I don't have it right. So the DRC team had to go to Belgium to quarantine for 21 days. Their team, just their own little bubble. The reason they chose 21 days is because the incubation period for Ebola is anywhere from 2 to 21 days, meaning if you've been exposed, if you don't have symptoms by 21 days, then you don't have Ebola, likely. And so they went to Belgium, and then now they're here in the United States. And so is the question that now is Belgium going to be the headquarters? Is that how you understand it?
Belgium is the headquarters for Ebola for people to, I guess, quarantine.
Well, that's not anything that's been established, and I don't know how Belgium will feel about that. Because what I don't know is if Belgium had any monetary support from FIFA, or if it's just something that they volunteered to do. I don't have that information. That will make a difference. If they're not getting any kind of financial gain, I don't see why a country would volunteer, to be the headquarters, because each time someone comes, that would increase your risk, at least, for getting Ebola. So to my knowledge, they are not about to be the Ebola headquarters. They were a country that was willing to host. And that's something to research. And if anyone else knows, please let me know. Did they have any kind of a financial incentive to host? And I say that because when we think about Kenya, you remember that Kenya, the United States built this 50-bed quarantine unit where we were just going to send our United States citizens because Secretary Marco Rubio said we cannot and will not let Ebola in the United States. So we were going to send our people to Kenya. But then now the high courts have blocked that. We'll get that hearing in June 23rd. And Kenya's point was, we have 0 cases. Why should we, put ourselves at risk? And some of the activists there said, if Ebola is too dangerous for America, it's too dangerous for Kenya. I do know that in the arrangement that the United States had with Kenya, and this is what is going to be seen in the court, was that arrangement legal? Because some officials in Kenya, according to the United States, did agree for the facility to be built. And $13.5 million reportedly is what was offered. So that would be a financial incentive, right? And so someone could volunteer to be in Ebola headquarters if they were getting millions of dollars. I don't know the case in Belgium, but as far as what I know and the evidence that's out here now, they're not the official headquarters. If that changes, if I find out something else, I'll let you know. Yeah. All right. Anyone else with Ebola? Or y'all can ask me a testicular question or epididymitis question too about the rock. I'll answer that too if you have it.
All right. This is from Baby Love.
Hey, Baby Love.
Do you think that Ebola will become a pandemic, Dr. Frita?
I do not. And I'll tell you why I do not think it's going to be a pandemic. So when we think about pandemics, we think about infectious pathogens that are able to spread easily, right? Like COVID, like the flu. The difference is that infections like the flu, oh, let's just take COVID. COVID is something that has aerosolized particles, right? I could sneeze in a room right now if I had COVID, which I don't. And the COVID particles would just be here. So I could leave and go down to the grocery store where I could spread it somewhere there. Somebody else can come in the room and they can be laughing and eating chicken and they can get COVID whether I'm here or not. The other thing is that with COVID, you can pass it on even if you have no symptoms. So if I had COVID and I had no idea I had COVID and I'm kiki and laughing and talking out in everybody's face, I could be giving them COVID even before I'm sick, right? So that's two things. COVID spreads very easily because it's a respiratory and aerosolized, and you can pass it even when you're not sick. So if you're not sick and that means you have the energy to go everywhere to do anything, which can really make you just a super spreader, right? Now, let's take Ebola. Two things. One, Ebola is not a respiratory illness. I can't cough and sneeze and then let things float in the air. That's not going to work. For Ebola, you really do need close contact because it's by body fluid, blood, feces, breast milk, amniotic fluid, urine. Okay. You need contact with somebody's body, close fluids. Okay. Semen, vaginal fluid, all of those things, intimate contact. And so, yes, even a small number of virions or a small number of the virus can still make someone infected. And if you touch a dead body, you can, with Ebola, you can still get it. If you touch someone's clothing, if you touch surfaces, you can still get it. You still have to be in close contact, right? Like healthcare workers or family. So it's not spread from as far or as easily. So that's one reason why I don't think it's going to be a pandemic. Reason number two, you only are contagious when you're symptomatic, right? And so the symptoms of Ebola, you get fever, headaches, body aches, you can get bleeding. But by the time you're symptomatic, you're probably too sick to really be going down to the park and to the bar and to the grocery store to spread it, right? If you are sick down to the ground, you're more likely to stay in one place, which takes away from your super spreader possibilities. So that's why I don't think it's going to be a pandemic. So then you might be asking, well, then if you don't think it's going to be a pandemic, then why are they talking about, projections from the CDC, 10,000 to 20,000 even? This is why. There are unique conditions in Central Africa, specifically the Democratic Republic of the Congo. If one person gets Ebola and they pass away, there are many traditions where the people of the Congo touch the deceased body or wash the deceased body. So now you go from one person having it, right, to maybe 30, 40, 50, whoever's in, the village or in community. And so that's how you're getting these tight spreading. Also, in many rural cases, in many rural centers, you have patients who get Ebola in Democratic Republic of the Congo, and they're not near a hospital, or they might not trust it. A lot of them are thinking that it's witchcraft or something that's not of this earth, and they're not necessarily trusting the medical field. Okay. And I say that to say that's why the death rates in places that don't have the same access for healthcare as the United States, those death rates are much higher. Okay. But the back to the original question, I do not believe that it's going to be a pandemic for those two reasons. Is it possible? Science is ever evolving. Anything is possible, but there's an extremely low risk. And I, Dr. Frita, do not believe that it will be a pandemic. If something changes, if something mutates and that thing start popping off and being able to be spread through respiratory, I'll let you know. But as of now, I do not believe that it will be the next pandemic.
All right, thank you, Dr. Frita. I'm going to ask a couple questions from some members and some shout outs for you. Okay. This is from Peace Oasis.
Hi, Peace Oasis.
Can you develop the seasonal allergies as you get older?
Yes, capital YES. So let me tell you something, Peace Oasis, and you might have even seen it. I have had so many patients in my office. They'll come in, they'll be like, I don't know, I must have a virus. My eyes are itching, I'm coughing, I'm sneezing. And I'm like, you got allergies. And they're like, nah, I'm 50 years old. I never had allergies. I'm like, you got allergies. Because guess what? And there's different theories. Is it climate change? That's what a lot of centers of allergy, asthma, those organizations believe. But as we have warmer, more humid weather earlier, and you may have noticed, depending on where you live, certainly in Georgia, pollen season came early, allergies came early, and adults who never had allergic rhinitis in their entire lives are now literally being diagnosed. So the answer is yes, you can be good, grown to the bone, and get allergic rhinitis. Yes, it is possible, 100%.
All right, thank you. And then Ms. Sheila, she has a couple of questions.
Hi, Ms. Sheila,
She
and thanks for being
said,
here.
should we be worried about the other animals on farms with the screwworm, like the chickens or pigs?
Yes. Hold on, let me just tell you. Y'all know I'm not someone who gets on here and tries to make y'all worry and freak out. So let me just reiterate. The risks for humans, let me start with humans, very, very low. Is it possible? Yes, extremely low risk for humans to get it. But if you are a human and say you are out and about where screwworm flies are, and say you have a big diabetic ulcer, or you have a wound and maybe you're unhoused and you're outside, or you're taking naps and you're camping and you have tick bites you don't know of and you're in an infested area, then yes, it is possible that you can get it. You can be treated for it, okay? As long as you are treated, then you're not likely to pass away, but human risk low. Cattle, yes, very high risk. When you think about calves, little baby cows, and their little umbilical areas that show exposed skin, okay, so essentially a wound, high risk for screwworms getting there. In fact, the first screwworm case we saw in the United States this round was in a 3-week-old calf, and it was in the belly button area, the umbilicus. So that's that. But it's not just cows at risk. It's every warm-blooded animal, okay? So horses, yes, they're at risk. Goats, yes, they're at risk. I mentioned to you that there was a goat 170 miles north of Safala County in Texas. And that goat, which was in Gillespie County, straight up had a screwworm. Bad. Okay. And then birds are warm-blooded. Okay. So yes, you talked about chickens. If they got warm blood and if they have a wound, then yes, they are at risk. All warm-blooded animals, living animals, are at risk because these female screwworms will lie their little flesh-eating parasitic eggs on the wounds or mucous membranes, nose, eyes, ears of any warm-blooded animal. And then those eggs will hatch and their little larvae, the little flesh-eating parasites, will burrow into the skin, into the organs, into the flesh, into the mucous membranes of the animal. And they will sit there and eat. And if the animal is not treated, yes, the animal can pass away. And then after about 7 days of these flesh-eating parasite screwworm larvae getting their bellies full of living warm blood, after 7 days, they'll drop to the ground. And then they will emerge as screwworm flies to continue their parasitic madness. But in answer to your question, it's not just cows, all warm-blooded animals, livestock, pets, cats, dogs, birds. Yes, thank you for that question.
All right, thank you, Dr. Frita. And her other question, not related to topics, but she says, what's the test I get for my main heart valve check that I see on YouTube?
Oh, okay. What's the test you get for your main heart valve? Okay, so first of all, so what I give you here again is medical information. I strongly advise that you consult with your doctor. And if you know that you're having heart issues or you're concerned, ask to be seen by a cardiologist, a heart doctor if you're not already. But in general, your heart valve, an initial kind of non-invasive test is an echocardiogram or an echo. And that's when they'll put you in a dark room and they'll put some jelly, like a little warm, clear jelly on your chest, and they'll have an ultrasound probe, because that's really what it is, an ultrasound of the heart. And the cardiologists are able to look and to see if your valves are opening the way they're supposed to. And so, your valves are like those little doors that separate the chambers of your heart. And they should just kind of open nicely each time your heart pumps and just let blood flow the way that it should. But in some cases, you might have a stiff valve, like an aortic stenosis, where it's just opening a little bit, and that can lead to lightheadedness, and that can lead to changes in blood pressure, cardiomyopathy. And then sometimes the valve is leaky, like a mitral valve regurgitation, where it never closes all the way. And so you get backup of blood and you really get all kinds of heart problems, arrhythmia, cardiomyopathy, these different murmurs. But the short answer to that question is yes, consult with your doctor. But an echocardiogram is what you want to ask about, ECHO, an echocardiogram. Also, if they do a cardiac catheterization, that's more invasive, but that's when they go through either your groin artery, your femoral artery, or they can even go through the artery in your wrist, your radial artery. They shoot dye in there, and amazingly, they can also get information on your heart valve through a cardiac cath. Again, that's more invasive, but the first step, least invasive, the one they usually would do is an echocardiogram. So ask that question to your primary care doctor. And then also check out my videos I have here on this channel, just in general on heart disease, heart failure. I talked a lot, like when Ray J came out and shared about his cardiomyopathy. I talked about life expectancy with cardiomyopathy. I talked about heart transplants. I talked about LVADs, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of good information here on this channel. And you be well. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Frida. And shout out to Quiet Storm.
Quiet Storm. Hi.
Forever King.
Forever King. Hello.
James as well. Yeah.
Thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for hanging with us.
Miss Rosalind, as always.
Day one. Hi, Miss Rosalind.
Miss Rachel. Hello.
Hello, Miss Rachel.
And newest member, Miss Sarah.
Who's our newest?
Sarah.
Sarah?
Yes.
Like
Sarah.
Sarah. Hi, thank you for being a member. Listen, once we're finished, head straight to the members only and look at all the videos that we have. This last video I did was oh yeah. Let me tell you, any testicle questions you have, my son was driving me. He's 15 years old, and my daughter ran into Kava and got us something to eat. It just got me something because my kids did not want the vegetables that I wanted. Different struggle. Anyway, so I just went ahead and did my members only right there where I talked about testicular cancer, testicular torsion, epididymitis. I talked about prostate. I did a whole men's health members only, healthy habits, quick tips. And my son was in the car, and I know he gets tired of me talking about health issues. But I'm like, you know what? You need to hear about testicular health too. So grow up. But y'all will see that, members, if you go in there, and plus many, many more videos. Thank you for your support. Again, if y'all are here, thank you. We're here. We're here. Get used to it. Give us a like. That really does matter. Share. Check out my other videos. Put your notification bell on. And if you want a freebie, who doesn't want a freebie? Make sure that you get my free PDF download, 10 healthy habits for a better you and a better life. These are the healthy habits that I try to live by, child, to live my healthiest, happiest life. They're not super hard to do, especially once you get into the habit, the healthy habit, and they really can add to the quality of your life and to your health. So check it out. It's a free download I have for you. You can click the link in the description or go to my one-stop shop, drfrida.com, where, of course, you can also get my Audible book. There'll be more on that. Don't worry, but I'm really proud of it. And I know that y'all will enjoy it as well. All right. Thank you to all of you for being here for another Dr. Frida Live, where we discuss the latest trending medical headlines and celebrity health news. Make sure you check out my playlist here on YouTube, where I have my different TV appearances up. You know, Joy Reid Show, Don Lemon Show, News Nation, Channel 2, ABC News, 11 Alive, NBC News. I have all of the things right here on my playlist, even playlists I did back in the day where I was on some other channels where I don't go anymore. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. All right. But I certainly love y'all for being here, and I appreciate you for making Monday your healthiest day of the week. I'm Dr. Frida.